What's up, YouTube? Gilbert Deltrez here. Just wanted to talk a little bit about my Indiegogo campaign. For those of you not aware, I did launch an Indiegogo campaign for my original graphic novel titled LAIR. It's about 66 pages. Kind of hard to describe it. I mean, it is horror, um, but I kind of have an interesting way of putting it, I guess. Here, let's just go. I have, let's see. All right, so Lair, a paradimensional demon horror, right? So why paradimensional? Well, my story does involve demons from another dimension. Without giving away too many spoilers, I just felt that was just like a catchy way of kind of promoting the book at the same time hinting that it's not a typical demon possession story. If we look at the picture here, we have our main antagonist. This is Kagrin, and it looks like he has a gun to the head of our protagonist, Angelo. So the story is definitely interesting in that I know when we think about elevator pitches, it's you kind of have something like it's a mashup between X and Y. Like, oh, I have this book. It's a mashup of Shaun of the Dead and I don't know, The Purge, if that would make any sense. That would actually sound interesting. But so with Lair, it was kind of hard to find a story that could kind of fit that criteria. But the story is dark, and I kind of hit that nail a little bit in how I promote the campaign. But let's just continue on. Lair, a paradimensional demon horror. An off-duty cop faces more than inner demons when he's suddenly warped into a hellish dimension. Here's our off-duty cop, Angelo, and yes, he definitely faces more. So I got $1,000 flexible goal. It's not fixed, but let's hope we can get that goal amount. I just wanted to keep something modest. I was able to crowdfund Lair on another platform, and I'm no longer using that other platform. I'm going to be working now exclusively on Indiegogo, and I just felt that I wanted to give more comic fans just another chance to grab Lair. So here's our overview. And okay, it all started with a sizzling bright flash. A portion of a New York City train toppled on its side, resting on a hieroglyphical surface, the tail end torn as if it were cardboard. Ghoulish shadows of winged beasts glide across the dented train hull. 3 survivors are on board. A snarky female college student, a rattled nurse, and a brazen off-duty cop who desperately wants to find a way out, oblivious that he's actually been summoned to the most dangerous place not of this world, Lair. And here's our little hard, I guess soft bound trade paperback style book. We're putting it at $25. With US, it'll be $5 shipping. We got 8 claims so far. Hoping to see this jump before the campaign ends, and then of course a $15 digital copy. Alternative as well for those on a budget. I know I find myself on a budget because being a first-time dad, being put through the ringer, a lot of times I can't spend as much as I'd like. So I know there's a few Indiegogo campaigns that I want to back myself, and I just found myself trying to find a more economical way of backing. But I know we're creators, and we need to offset. It's difficult because we kind of got to make a profit at the same time we're trying to fund and make sure we can give you guys access to our book. So soon, with time, I feel like we'll be at a better place. But okay, so what is Lair? Lair tells a story of a faithless, off-duty New York City cop in a rocky relationship who gets more than what he bargained for when he somehow finds himself squaring off against a sadistic ruler to a hellish dimension. All right, here we go with our kind of X meets Y. Our comic book follows in the footsteps of classics like Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt, but with a modern-day street appeal. It's brutally in-your-face, savage, and utterly visceral, but not without hope. If you're into creepily bizarre Stephen King movies, then you'll feel right at home with LAIR. And here's our cover. Here's a beautiful cover, man. I think it's an amazing cover. I think just by the cover, for me, I mean, if you do comics, a lot of times, if you're in the shop, you look at a cover and sometimes the cover is good, it's going to want to make you just pick up a book and at least look inside and flip through it. I feel with this cover, we got the job done. If we were in local comic shops where people would want to at least take a closer look, or gander a bit further. So here I got Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt. So I mean, it follows that type of, I want to say, premise in that it's a one shot story for sure, but it's definitely modern day. It has a modern day street appeal. It's brutally in your face, savage, and utterly visceral, but not without hope. So here I go with hope, and here I go again, faithless. So in trying to figure out LAIR, it is a horror story, and at the same time, me being a Christian comic book writer, I feel like LAIR is my way of saying, hey, you know what? We could do a horror story that definitely looks like it has mainstream appeal, and at the same time, tell a message, or show that horror is a perfect medium for all types of messages, and even if they're faith-based as well. So that's what I wanted to do with LAIR, just to show that, hey, the horror genre is a genre that definitely has range and can definitely cover all types of subject matter, deep, thought-provoking, as well as spiritual. So, I mean, that's LAIR. Like I said, it's definitely something you're not going to, I don't think it's something you'd ever find published through a mainstream publication, only because the way things are in this climate, political climate or what have you, like, everything is so touchy. Everything is so, like, I feel like if you do something that's even spiritual or even Christian, it's almost like, oh, you can't preach to me. Don't force your beliefs on me. If you pick up LAIR, I try to make LAIR as organic as possible as far as conveying my faith message, trying to stay true to the characters that I write and the situations that I develop through the narrative. And try to make it, about hope as well, even though it, it definitely looks hopeless from the cover, in that it's just, I mean, it's really horror centric. So, I mean, that's at least LAIR for me. It's me coming into my own as a writer and trying to prove that, hey, even as a Christian comic book writer, we can get edgy, we can be a bit daring, and we can tell our message at the same time. Talk a little bit about something that will leave you thinking more about life and even the afterlife, without getting too preachy. I'm not all for preachy. I'm not a big preachy guy. Like, I like to just say what works for me and say what I think, or parallel certain ways how I reflect things, but I don't ever want to force any belief on you. But at the same time, as a Christian comic book writer, I want to leave you thinking about things. One of my best friends is an atheist, and we get into a lot of interesting discussions, and we're just great people. And I mean, I'm not one to judge, and I'm not one to be that type of person. I respect everybody, as a Christian should be, So here we have the artwork already completed. Again, the idea would be to get this into your hands before Christmas. Our story is finished. This is my first time with Indiegogo. I'm not sure how long it would take to receive the funds. Again, hopefully we can hit that 1,000 mark, so I could get a nice, decent printing to the backers that would be backing. Of course, if we get a big backing following, that'd be great. And the idea is just to cover, we'd be able to raise enough to cover the backers as far as printing. The Creator Story by me, art by Sebastian Navis. Like I said, this dude is just, he's a juggernaut. I found this dude on DeviantArt, and just the rest is history. We got into a great relationship. He's a great artist. Davi Komodo, another one, who's a coloring savant. He does the beautiful colors for LAIR. And Davison Manes, he's a great talent as far as lettering. Lettering make or breaks, most comic books, and he's a guru as a letterer. All right, so here we go to the cast. Angelo, again, here's our brash off duty cop who wears his heart on his sleeve. He's our faithless guy, and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he goes through a gauntlet of terror, so to speak, in what he goes through at LAIR. Just things he can't even describe, and that shifts his way of thought and his belief system, and it's I think it's pretty cool what he goes through. Vey, she's our snarky college student obsessed with Twitter, obscure vintage rock bands, and gossip. This is just more insight into who she is and how she's, just about her demeanor and about her. Lizzie's our mild-mannered graveyard shift doctor and single mother, so she's she's an interesting character as well. We have Anastasia, caring woman of faith who found her way into the stubborn arms of Angelo. Yeah, she's the love interest to Angelo. They're in a rocky relationship. It's an interracial relationship. I thought that was just organic in that. I felt like there's a lot of interracial relationships in this day and age, and as much as we're different, there's so many things that are alike as well as individuals, and I just felt she would be an interesting character to develop alongside Angelo, and she is a woman of faith who is trying to, I guess, be an example or trying to not preach, but I guess maybe kind of. But Angelo is set in his ways, and he's hard headed, and that's just who Angelo is. That's his character. But their dynamic is interesting. Then we have Kagrin. He's our fallen angel overseer of LAIR. I've had people wonder if he's the devil, if he's Lucifer, if he's Satan, if he's a demon. He rules over demons, and he's a fallen angel. Since the beginning of time, he was part of Lucifer's flock, and he just ended up in LAIR. But I have a monologue with him in there in the book, just talking more about his origin. Kagan is just one of those interesting enigmas, but he comes into his own as well in LAIR. And preview pages. Here's some preview pages. We have the cross here. This is where the train ended up in LAIR. Not everyone's cognizant of what's going on, or they're oblivious to the fact that they're somewhere else. Angelo's one that he kind of feels something going on here. We have one of the demons kind of watching them, and he notices, and all of a sudden the demon's gone. I don't see anything, and so just a little preview kind of showing you the art style, the direction, without giving up too much information, but just showing the pro quality work here, the coloring, the way the story moves, the sequentials. I felt that again, like LAIR is my first completed work. It's also me discovering myself as a writer. I took my time with the story. It was just a concept I had in my head brewing for years, and it started out as a short story in one of my college writing classes, and from there it blossomed into the full graphic novel we have here. And this is just the first step. As a comic book creator, I would love to, show more of my work, establish more of my forte and what I'd like to do as a creator in this climate that I think needs more organic stories from underrepresented creators as well, creators who wouldn't normally have an opportunity or a platform to have a voice. And LAIR is, if I would say one thing, I could say it's like a spiritual horror, to be honest. I mean, even though, like I don't come across as too preachy, at least I feel like you readers who are Christian, if you want to check it out, or even if you're a horror buff, like you're gonna find something to enjoy in LAIR. That it's just like I said, it's trying to leave you thinking. It's something that I feel you won't find out there. I honestly mean that. I mean, I read a lot of horror comics, and I always try to differentiate or try to create something that hasn't been done before. Although a lot of work that's out there is usually influenced and inspired by others, and that's the largest form of flattery. But at the same time, LAIR, it's truly and wholly unique in its own right, and something that I feel you would enjoy if you just are into horror or are into supporting indie comics. It's definitely a fresh premise, something that could be capitalized on. I feel like, I mean, the way horror, sometimes you see horror movies and you get one brilliant idea and then you just churn out 4 or 5 of those movies and you kind of milk it. Like the Saw movies, I had loved the Saw movies. I thought the first one was interesting. The second one was okay, and then there's just sometimes they devalue as they go on. It's always harder to find a sequel that outweighs the original. One of my favorite horror movies, it's a sci-fi horror. It's Alien, and then you have Aliens, which I thought was excellent. So you always have stories that like you could keep them going. You got The Conjuring, and they got The Conjuring 2. You got Insidious 2, Insidious 3. Like LAIR is definitely one where I feel like just the way I set up this premise, this dimension of demons and how they operate and how this, like I feel like that could be its own, where you could have like a LAIR 1, 2, 3, and 4. But of course, I didn't make the story with that in mind to milk it. As a writer, and especially as a comic book writer, it's for me. I find it so hard to keep up with a lot of the stories out there. Like when you have a 4-issue series and it closes right there and you get some kind of finality, that always feels good. But sometimes it's hard to keep in touch with series that go on for over 300 issues. I mean, those are great. I love those stories that almost seem to never end. But at the same time, I feel like for a piece of work, you definitely need some closure, especially with comic books as well. I feel like closure helps. With LAIR, I ended in a way where I'm satisfied with the story and the message. Also, I feel like it could keep going if there was a demand for sure. But I just feel in its own right, it gets the job done, and it shows at least the type of work that I'm putting out there, and what would be my staple as a comic book writer. So far, we got a month left. We're at 28%. We're almost at $300. We have 8 backers, which is awesome. Would love to see this number jump up just to get comic book fans a different type of work, just something different they can digest and contemplate over. And again, this is just my first step into becoming a comic book creator, and hopefully, being able to continue in this craft. Being a comic book creator is one of the most insanely expensive hobbies. It's nice that we have crowdfunding sites like Indiegogo to help put our work out. But at the same time, it's definitely hard to self-promote. But you got to do what you have to do to formulate a tribe and to get people to understand what you do and appreciate it. And there you have it. So guys, again, Gilbert Deltrez here. I want to thank you guys for just checking this video out as I talk a little bit about LAIR and go into a bit of detail just what it is. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you have a chance, take a look, check it out. Hopefully you guys will find an interesting story here to get behind. There's not too many Christian horror comic book writers out there, so I'm definitely fulfilling a niche if there's ever one that needed to be fulfilled. So again, I'm looking to create some interesting narratives, start some awesome discussions, create discourse, and just hopefully continue in the realm of comic book making and supporting it as well, because I'm also a fan. So again, thank you guys for checking out LAIR, and if you get a chance, definitely see if you could take a look at our project and consider backing or spreading the word. All right, thank you guys so much. Later.